think that's confusing for them. I brought 4 up myself, and they would say, Mommy, why do we have to learn this at school, sex, you know? So I would explain to them, you know.
How old were they when they were learning that, Patricia?
Around 6 or 7, which they didn't understand. They come to the opinion that they should have sex with a man. They said to Mom, do I have to have sex with a man? I said, no, honey, you know.
And where was it? Sorry, where was this? So they were teaching them that
in
Halifax, okay.
Yes, and I don't find that teachers should be teaching about sex. Us parents should be. You know what I mean? Especially a lot of them don't have children. So I feel, how can they talk to somebody else's child about this? You know what I mean?
When did you? So it sounds like you talked to your kids about sex.
Oh, yes.
When did you start talking to them?
I brought my children up. No man is to beat them. They're to treat them like human beings and like ladies and gentlemen. And all my children turned out fine. My granddaughter.
When did you start talking to them about sex, though?
When they started to feel, you know, like getting interested in looking at boys, you know, and I'd say, now it's time to sit down. We got to talk, you know. And I bring the boy that she liked or the girl that he liked, and we would sit down and have a conversation. And it turned out fine. I have no rapists in my family. I have no child molesters or nothing, because I let them know things like that are wrong, not to talk about it and not explain that it's wrong, you know what I mean? Because a child at 6 years old does not understand really right from wrong with sex.
Okay. On that, Patricia, thank you. And do they know right from wrong at 6 when it comes to?
Well, that's why it's important to start talking about feelings, about the clip with when she was talking about identifying feelings. So we call that emotional intelligence. And it's a very, very important part of a child's education. Yep, we could leave it to the families, but, you know, it's not that families, and you could maybe attest to this, are always, again, just like you go ahead and teach your kids Latin. If you haven't grown up in a situation where you've been learning this, then it's going to be hard to pass on to your child. And again, while parents are the main sex educators, 86% in Veronica's survey that was done recently said that they are very happy that sex education is part of the curriculum. I also know that parents are reluctant to do this. I work in a clinic, so I see teenagers come in as you talk to teenagers. And so I hear firsthand over and over and over again how little information that children actually usually end up getting from their parents. So, and in classes I ask in grade, well, 9, 10, 11-year-olds, I say, how many of you have someone in your life who you could pretty much ask anything about this subject and you'd feel confident asking and getting an answer? There is a small number in every class who raise their hand to that question. So
what kind of child is going to want to raise their hand on a sex question from a teacher anyway? Come on, a lot of kids. I remember I was very shy about raising my hand when it was sex ed class at a Catholic school. I didn't want to. It was embarrassing. I didn't want to be teased by the bullies in the class if I put up my hand and asked about erection or something like that.
During class, right?
During class, in front of the teacher.
But I think what Kim, what you're saying is your question
No,
was
but she's saying, but wait a second. She's saying because she doesn't see hands go up, that must mean the parents are
and because of the study, and because of what we see.
Sorry, we're just going to, Shamala, sorry.
Well, what I heard Kim saying is that this sort of speaks to perhaps a lack of comfort within family systems in talking about this topic. And I absolutely agree with you. It's such an important topic. It's so integral to our humanity, right? And just who we are as human beings. But there's so much anxiety around it. There always has been so much anxiety.
Let's get back to the phones. We have a lot of people who want to join in tonight. Natasha from Toronto, how are you? Natasha?
Hello?
Hi, Natasha. What's your question?
You know what? My point in here is that we really don't live in a stone age. And a lot of our kids are really exposed to these things at an early age. And it's not at home, and it's not at school. they've got Facebook, they've got YouTube, they've got Twitter, they've got friends, older sisters, brothers, and they're constantly being bombarded with a lot of things that are sexually orientated. And what ends up happening is that they already have a basic idea of what's going on. And I do believe that maybe grade 1 is a little bit early to start getting the education system to be, I guess, letting them know what's going on. But a lot of parents, I'm kind of on both sides, because a lot of parents are in a position where they're uncomfortable talking to their kids about it. So at the same time, I mean, I have kids, and I see what they've been exposed to. And we have an open forum at home. And a lot of parents are able to give their own opinion and not let the child understand what's right and what's wrong.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a position where you really have to look at how you're going to address this issue with kids, not just at home, but at school as well. And I think you guys are right that parents should be the number one source of this information. But maybe an opt-in would be the best idea here, because a lot of parents just won't be able to have this conversation with their kids.
Okay, Cynthia. Or sorry, Natasha. We're just gonna move on to get some thoughts from Cynthia from Scarborough first, and then we'll get back to our panel. Cynthia.
Hello.
Hi.
Are you there?
Yes, we are.
Yes. I firmly believe that sex education should be definitely left up to parents. I don't think that 5, 6, 7, and 8-year-olds should be going to school and having their teacher discuss their penises and their vaginas when they're babies. And I think if any sex education should be taught at all, should be at adolescence around 11, 12, 13, and thereafter, but not to babies.
Okay.
I am very, very concerned about this.
Okay, Cynthia, thank you very much.
Okay.
So 11, 12, is that too late? Do you think that's a good age?
I think definitely older ages. All the topics here that have been proposed in the Kathleen Wynne liberal sex ed curriculum are too early. I think parents would feel more comfortable rather than getting kids talking about their genitalia rather than at 6 years old, some later age. 6 years old definitely isn't right.
Because they're not abused.
Teaching
because
children.
6-year-olds aren't sexually abused. Is that why?
Well, if we're concerned about sexual abuse, let's get rid of the curriculum that was overseen by a confessed child pornographer.
But there are other people who are.
Let's protect children that way.
Let's look at the research. The research, and I'll share the research with you, that shows children who have some conversation with someone about this, who know what their body parts are less vulnerable to being sexually abused.
Who says children don't know what their body parts are?
They
My
know
4-year-old knows what their body parts
cookie
are.
and wee-wee and
My 4-year-old would
kinky.
know how to tell me if a stranger had touched him. Okay?
Most 4-year-olds are not given their
this is
accurate. It's a fear thing. It's a fear thing. We are, with all other aspects of children's lives, we think more information is suitable. So we don't wait till children are walking along in the spring to say, oh, what is that that's coming out of the ground? We initiate conversations. So the piece about wait until the child initiates, that's one tiny school of thought. Most people who educate children do have a sense. There are stages of sexual development in children. They're predictable stages, what they're curious about, what they can understand. What they don't understand goes, as you know with your child, goes completely past them when you're talking to a child about something that they aren't interested about. So initiating this conversation is a protective factor.
Nice sounding words like initiating a conversation. You can't sweep under the rug the fact that this curriculum plans to teach 8-year-olds to question whether they're a boy or girl. That it plans to encourage masturbation to grade 6s, okay? talking with flowery language about initiating a conversation doesn't make, we can't just hide that. Let's talk about what's upsetting parents.
This is nothing new. I have talked about masturbation with grade 4, 5, 6s
and
for
have you taught
30 years.
8-year-olds to question whether they're a boy or girl?
It's not questioning. It's giving them the science. It's saying, you know what?
It's placing sexual confusion in their minds.
So back to the question again about, do you wait till children initiate, and what's the fear about giving information to children when you talk about, yes, children are all individuals.
Okay, we're going to get back to the phones.
So what's the fear?
Liza from Toronto.
Hello.
Hi, Liza. What's your
Lisa,
question?
actually, and I just wanted
Lisa.
to say, I think they should be expanding the sex curriculum because parents don't talk about their kids about sex. I know my parents didn't. My parents are old-fashioned, and I'm sure a lot of kids have old-fashioned parents who don't know how to, approach that kind of subject. So learning it in school would be good. Would be a good thing, I think.
Lisa, have you had a chance to look at what's being proposed? Is there anything that concerns you?
I haven't seen what's being proposed, but I think any kind of expanding your knowledge is totally a good thing for sure.
Okay. Lisa, thank you very much.
Bye.
We'll get another caller in right now. Joe. Hello, Joe. Maybe we won't. Joe?
I totally agree with the gentleman. I disagree with this for a whole host of reasons. The age is definitely too young for kids to be learning this kind of thing, in my view. I think this is a conversation that absolutely 100% belongs in the home. I want my kids to learn math and science and that sort of thing. You can grade those. You can see how they're doing. I have no idea how to judge the competency of a teacher who's going to teach these kind of things to a young child who I think is unprepared for it at that stage. I can certainly see it in a high school situation where if the child wanted to opt into one of those subjects as they would in some other subject, and they've had a chance to discuss it with their parents, that's probably more doable. And the other issue I have is I didn't catch the start of the program to know if any of this was going to be taught in Catholic high schools, but
yes,
I would have a serious problem.
Yeah.
Well, being a Catholic myself, and I do take my Catholicism very seriously, I would have a serious issue with my child being taught things that are clearly in conflict with Catholicism. That would, to me, is a big issue, and it would just lead to more confusion because, on the one hand, at the school, the kid is being told certain things are okay, and from my point of view, being a Catholic, they're not. So I definitely think this is something that should be in the home, belongs to be in a conversation between children and their parents, not their teachers.
And Catholic Joe should be aware that in grade 3, the curriculum, the 2010 curriculum, which we expect will very much resemble the September curriculum that Kathleen Wynn's going to foist on kids,
and I have a problem with that.
Plans to normalize, it plans to get in grade 3 to celebrate same-sex marriage and homosexual family structures.
Right.
And it's one thing, again, there's another question there. You're going to force this on Catholic schools. That goes against the religious beliefs of Catholic schools.
Yeah, and I don't know how they reconcile that. Just for the record, full disclosure here, I do teach catechism to children, confirmation classes as well. Mm-hmm. And so on those subjects, what I'm teaching is clearly in conflict with what they're going to be taught. So more confusion, like the gentleman said. These kids, their heads are going to be spinning in terms of what's right and what's wrong, depending on what their religious beliefs might be, what they've been brought up to believe in that sense versus the secular sense. I see big problems there.
And as far as the Catholic schools are concerned, that's actually unconstitutional. What Kathleen Wynne is planning to impose on Catholic schools, it's unconstitutional.
Right.
The Catholic schools in Ontario have a constitutional right to religious freedom and to reject any curriculum or government mandate at any level, federal, provincial, what have you, that adversely affects the content of faith and morals. So Kathleen Wynne is saying, I don't care about your constitutional rights. I'm going to violate them.
This is part of the New Education Act. This is part of the Accepting and Safe Schools Act.
The Constitution Act is above that.
The Bill 13, no, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Human rights is above all
Get a constitutional lawyer.
All other legislation.
No, it's
Ontario
not.
Human Rights.
The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom says right in it, in Section 29, that the Constitution Act takes precedence. And it mentions the rights of Catholic schools in Ontario.
Let's talk about values then. Let's not talk about laws.
No, because you lose on that one. So let's talk about
values. Values in terms of accepting other people. Values in terms of a child, an elementary school child, understanding that there are different kinds of families, not just single-parent families, not just foster parent families, but also same-sex parent families. That's what's being taught. Different kinds of families.
No, it's going to go far beyond
the viewers
just.
Need to
it's
know
going to go far beyond just telling kids that these types of family structures exist. It's going to be celebration. It's going to be